Hello and welcome to Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I am John Verico, your host, and I'm delighted to have another exciting guest with us today. Author in the upcoming, as of this recording, upcoming 21st edition of Cracking the Rich Code. My guest today is an executive business coach named Craig Eagleson. Let me bring Craig in. We're just getting to know each other, so we're going to learn about each other as we go. Craig, hey there. How's it going?
Awesome. Great to talk to you today, John.
Great, great. Now you are the owner and principal and transformational. And that name just kind of intrigued me a little bit and wanted to know a little bit more about what it is that you do. And welcome and tell us a little bit about Prestige Transformational, what you do there.
Yeah. The funny part about the name, John, is when we were trying to name the company, I sat with my wife, my daughter, my son, and we were bouncing names left and right. And Prestige just came out of somebody's mouth and it sounded really nice. It sounded like a great company, and that's where we landed. So it was a family effort. A little bit about the company. So Prestige Transformational, we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, business executives. Our main focus is trying to help them grow and drive their businesses without sacrificing their life. The one thing I see a lot of, and over my course of my 30 years in the corporate world, is people try to blow up their business and drive the business and attain everything they want, but they're sacrificing so much on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. That work life balance is so absolutely critical. And that's something I focus on a lot as well. We realize that, especially as entrepreneurs, we wind up, doing everything, right? We're chasing the business, we're doing the marketing, we're doing the accounting, we're doing the books. And by the time you actually have time to do the work that you're supposed to be doing, the service you actually provide, it doesn't leave much time for anything else.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
fact that go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I worked with a gentleman, same thing. He was an entrepreneur. I've been working with him the last few months, and the one thing is he was working so hard he had no work-life balance. And after our second session, we made some
Yeah.
changes, and he said something to me that he said my 5-year-old came back to him and said, "Daddy, it's so much fun spending all this time with you now."
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing what happens when we realize how much we're missing trying to chase the dollar.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that there's folks like you that are out there that are helping people. Now, when now you're relatively new now, obviously, to the Cracking the Rich Code community. I'm just going to ask, what was it like? How did you wind up here? What was that conversation with Jim Britt about? And
He's an amazing individual, and I was I'm part of another organization, and it was a Saturday event and speakers, and I was the first speech to go, and then sat by time going through, and at the end there was a keynote speech, and Jim gave it, and then Jim
ah,
sat with there was 9 speakers, I believe, that day, and Jim sat with us at the end in an executive session, and the 15 minutes we spent with him, he was so captivating. And I sent him a message, said, "Hey, I would like to connect with you after." And then he and I connected, I think, that Monday. And he just an amazing individual. I mean, if people haven't heard Jim Britt's story, you should talk to him. It's amazing. And we got to talking, and he invited me to be part of the Cracking the Rich Code team, and be part of an author in this book coming out. And how do you say no to Jim Britt?
and he's so modest too, which is kind of cool. Uh,
Yes.
so now you dove in, and I know you're relatively new at this. You've been in another collaboration book before, which is also coming out around the same time. You're working on your own book, which should be coming out soon as well, and we'll talk about that to give a little pitch for what's coming up. But you decided now, okay, Jim's offered you this opportunity to be in this book, Cracking the Rich Code. What do you write about?
you know, I it, I took time, to really write it, and I started to think about my story, and I started to think about the stories of, you know, cracking the rich code and what does that mean for people. So, I really just took some, stories from my life on things I've done, but I based it around what I teach, and what it is raising your level of consciousness, right? Um, and the title of my chapter, which you said is almost a chapter. The quality of your life
Oh
depends,
yeah,
and your
the title
business.
of his chapter. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this, folks. The title of his chapter. It's almost a chapter in itself. The quality of your life and business is shaped by the level of consciousness you bring to your decisions.
Yeah, so that really set the tone, and then utilizing things I've experienced to show people how to raise that level of consciousness. What you are aware of, you control. What you're unaware of controls you. And most people don't
Yeah.
realize that they're two separate things. And to me, that's cracking the rich code. That's how you achieve that code. And the rich code may mean different things for different people. Maybe it's work-life balance, maybe it's money, maybe it's fame, whatever that may be, but it's understanding
Right.
of what is your subconscious holding you back from learning and doing. And when you're aware of those things, you can control it, and then you control your life and get what you want to be.
That's beautiful. I like the way you said too that what richness is defined differently by different people. I remember when Jim mentioned cracking the rich code to me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not one of you Wall Street zillionaire guys. I'm not. I'm in my well, yeah, I was in my 60s and working on my second million. But that's because the first one didn't work out, so I started over. I said I'm not in this group with you guys. And he goes, no, it's not about money. I said, okay, we're not talking about financial wealth. We're talking about richness of life. That makes a
Mm.
difference because what we find uh, uh, in life that means the most to us, that's the richness, right? Whether it's the people we surround ourselves with, the time we spend, the opportunity to go on adventures, whatever it is that we consider to be our richness.
Yeah, and people tell you all the time, right? When we all go, and we're all going to go at some point, on your tombstone, it doesn't say how hard of a worker you were, how great of how many
I
books you
never saw a
wrote.
gravestone that said, "I wish I'd worked more."
That's the thing that most people don't realize. Your kids don't remember you for how hard you worked on your deathbed. So it's the quality of time you spend with them, and there's so many different ways to achieve that rich code. And again, like I said, I think it's the level of consciousness I bring and help bring to people. I just think about that one client I'm working with now, and what we're doing for him. Maybe it's not bringing him fortune right now. Maybe it will. We're working on some things, but what it's brought to him in family and time with family, to me, means the world to me. That I think we've won already.
Well, it means the world to him as well, right? Because he gets time with his family, and his life becomes more well rounded and richer for that. And so that's what we
Yes.
look at, and that is an understanding that I think is could be missing out there in the corporate world. And we really need to be able to focus on having a whole life and not just a business life, unless
Yeah.
that's what your focus is. That's what you want. But I'm glad that there's people like you that are out there that are helping people to identify ways to figure out what it is that richness means to them and how they can fit into it. How did you wind up in this realm, by the way?
I after the military, found my way, did a couple
I
things, and then
thought you were a fellow serviceman. I just got that impression. So real quick, we're going to go back to the question: what service?
I was Army Ranger.
Outstanding! Wow, thank
Yeah.
you for your service.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah,
thank
I
you
I
for
was
your
Navy.
service. Thank you. Um, I have a lot of Navy friends, got a lot of Marine friends. I love the military. I mean, the guys who serve in the military, what they've done and what they do. My son's best friend is now a Marine. He's over in South Korea right now. So it's an amazing job people do. Um,
Anyway,
but
thank you for your service. Let's move on.
no, thank
Sorry.
you. So after spending 30 years or so in the corporate world and climbing the ladder and doing different things, along the way, I've always had this passion to help. I've always been in leadership roles, coaching roles, whatever it may be in my positions, and I've always coached. Now, in 2017 was really my first run-in with understanding this world of coaching and
Mhm.
teaching and training. And I was at a John Maxwell event in Florida, and I met a man named Christian Simpson who just blew me away by what coaching is and what it isn't. And I spent some time with Christian. And then some years went by and we reconnected. I was about to go through his program in the early 20s, 2020s. And then, my wife was hit with breast cancer and we spent 2.5 years dealing with that. And then as she started to heal, I realigned with Christian and I went through about a year and a half of accreditation process in coaching. And what I learned from him in 2017 and from John Maxwell about speaking on stage, amazing stuff. And, when you meet people like Jim Britt and John Maxwell, they
Yeah.
captivate you on what they do. And Tony
So
Robbins,
you
and you
went to
watch these
the
people on stage.
yeah. So you went to the IMC, John Maxwell's IMC back in 17.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm also John Maxwell trained, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
certified.
And it was just, you talk
So,
about a room. So,
but when I was going to the IMC, that wound up virtual.
oh, okay. Yeah. I got to go to the in-person event, which was really cool, and meet people. And it was just
Nice.
to meet John in person and Christian Simpson and the whole team, just they really motivated me to start following this path.
Yeah.
And so after my accreditation process, it really for me was I looked at what I did as a coach early in my career and said, wow, if I had the ability I have now, man, imagine what I could have done. So it was the accreditation process of how to truly be a coach and what coaching is, what coaching isn't, how to go through a true coaching process. It blew me away. And again, when I sit with people now and I go through it and I coach or I'm coaching a friend, for me, helping another person is the greatest gift that you can give back. And it's amazing when you see the difference you're making in somebody. It's amazing how you feel about what you're doing. So it's just that's what really led me to this. Again, I spent a lot of time in the corporate world, and I'm still in that world. But the coaching for me is just truly a passion.
I know exactly what you mean and how you feel about it because I get the same feeling. I've always said that that when I'm speaking to a group or when I'm working one on one, if they get that little glint in their eye that says they got it, that I hit a point, that I help them solve a problem, whatever it is, that's my reward. That
Yeah.
the feeling that you get from helping somebody else, that's my reward. Unfortunately, I've become accustomed to the minor luxuries of food and shelter, so we do have to charge for these things, but still, I would do it for free otherwise. There's something really warm about that. So where do you see now that you've written your chapter? What do you want people to come away with from that chapter?
When you read my chapter, I think you'll understand kind of where I've come from and where I'm going and what I've done. I want readers to understand when they walk away from reading that chapter, and it goes back to even the military, you are capable of so much more. And most people get stuck. And as my mentor Christian used to say, stuck stinks, right? So
Yeah.
when you get stuck, you can't really coach yourself out of it. Some people can work but when you are stuck and that internal person in your mind is telling you, don't go do that, you're not good enough to do that. You can't
Right.
do that. This is where you belong.
Oh, that
Well,
you can't do that thing. Oof.
and we have it there, right? And I have this debate with a friend, another coach of mine. Is that your internal saboteur protecting you so you don't go do something that can hurt you, or is it holding you back from being more?
Yeah.
And I think it's both. It's keeping you in a comfort zone that you don't want to leave to go to the next level. So, I want readers to walk away going, hey, if I just become aware of the things I am unaware of, I can control them and I can accomplish so much more. And I can walk through the fire and be able to get where I want to get to and achieve my life, whether it may be living a better life with my family, earning more, the position I want more fame, whatever it may be for that person, I think is important.
Oh, nice. I like the way you put that. I like the way you put that. And that is, like you said, it is so important for people to get a good understanding, a good feeling for what life is about when they can experience it. Um,
The
and
other thing, John, let me add one more thing. It's the conscious choices you make too over time. I
right.
made a lot of conscious choices at a young age that I didn't realize that every little decision led to something else. And those unconscious choices I made to do this, that, or the other thing led to something bad happening or not getting the thing
Oh,
I wanted. At a very young age, I learned that. And I think a reader reading my story or reading my chapter will be, holy cow, wow, I had those same things. And not realizing that your conscious decisions or your unconscious decisions are leading you down a path that you may or may not want to go to.
right. Yeah. Oh, and it's so true. Like we get these things in our brains that, and you mentioned it earlier too, that we can't do this or whatever. They're not really our thoughts. They're what other people told us. And then how do we overcome that? That's the hardest thing. We put our own limitations on ourselves
Yeah.
because of those beliefs, and working with folks and being able to help them to identify what that they're creating their own barriers is well again, it's rewarding to do it, and I know I feel good when I can help people to move beyond that.
Yeah.
So, Craig, now I know you did all this stuff with the John Maxwell Group and Christian Simpson, and you ultimately also got certified through the. Is that correct? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, so it's the European Coaching Council and Christian Simpson's his Conscious Coaching
Coaching
Academy.
Council. That's what it was.
Yeah, so Christian Simpson's Conscious Coaching Academy, that's where I went through. So Christian Simpson is a world-renowned coach, leader,
Hmm.
and the accreditation process you go through with them is very rigorous. You have to do certain modules, you have to attend certain things, you have to do live coaching sessions. So it
Hmm.
really prepares you for a true coaching session with clients that you're delivering on the highest of levels, that you're not just being surface level driven, that you are digging with clients. So that year and a half process was intense. Number one, the learning, then learning along the way, coaching and mentoring other coaches within the process, doing coaching on the spot with Christian in front of his team. And you learn a lot from the beginning to the end. So that process, it really just, for me, it was eye opening. It enhanced my abilities, I believe. I invested time and money in myself to do it for a couple
Exactly. Yeah.
reasons. Number one, my current staff that I manage within, my job, I could bring a lot to the table for them, increase the business, drive the business. And, I coach my team differently today than I did before. Now, when I coach my team, I coach them like a coach to get them to operate on higher levels. And I'm seeing that happen. But it also gives me the ability when I'm coaching a client to be very intense with that person. When they walk away, they're walking away with a true understanding of what coaching is and get the results that they need. So yeah, the process was phenomenal. I mean, I it was intense, it was long, but what I learned from it is just world class.
Yeah, yeah. So I had never attended any of Christian's sessions with the European Coaching Council, but I was curious about it, and so let's talk about a little bit about that because you had mentioned it before we actually came on the recording and starting
Yeah.
it. Um, so you've had some great opportunity to, and I like the fact that you took the time. So many people don't do this. Take the time to invest in themselves and enhance their own skill, which is why I think coaching is so important because people need this kind of help. They just don't realize it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I agree
and
with you.
look how you've applied it. Look how you've applied it in your own corporate job.
When you think about it, everybody has an accountant. You have a
It,
CPA, you have an attorney, you have a financial advisor. A lot of people. Why not have a coach that can help you get to the next level? It's just to your point. You said it earlier, John. It's that investment in yourself. Are you willing to make an investment in yourself to get to where you want to get to in life? And
yeah.
if you are, you'll achieve those things, because you can't coach yourself.
No, you can't. And so many people think they can. Well, here's the thing. I wanted to ask this when you mentioned that you were an Army Ranger. How was that transition from the Army life, especially being a Ranger? I mean, that's really out there forward on the line. How was that transition coming into the corporate world?
So my time was shorter in the military.
And then going into
Yeah, so my time in the military was shorter. I ended up getting hurt. I got hurt a couple times in basic training, and then in my unit, I ended up getting hurt, and I left a little earlier. But what I will tell you is the training that I got from basic training through Ranger indoctrination training, which was an intense 6 to 8 week intense course, and then
Mhm.
being in my unit and watching how they operate, I took all of those skills, and when I left the military, I used a lot of those principles within the corporate world of, organization, resiliency, driving the business. When you're leading in the military, you lead from the front, right? I wasn't a leader that just says, go do this and do it. No, whatever I asked of somebody, I did. So I took a lot of those principles about driving the business and getting results from that military structure of organization, discipline, making sure the little things are buttoned down, and I took those things that I learned there in such a short time. And
Yep.
again, they still stay with me today about organization, discipline, the resiliency you have. And that's why I talk about within my book of, you know, man, I could go on for hours and tell you about 2013 and all the bad things that happened to us, from three very close people in our family dying to a house fire, and say, woe is
Oh
me.
wow.
But it doesn't matter, right? It's about, is there a resilient fire within you to go, I'll just get over it and I'll move forward? And then, again, my wife getting breast cancer and, 23 or 24, it's a resiliency to get through those things that you learn within the military. You asked that question, right? So I was in a 27-mile ruck march, which was really a run with these guys. And you got
Yeah.
150 pounds on your back. I weighed about 150 pounds soaking wet. And, mile 10, 15 in, I'm struggling. And this giant next to me just grabs me and goes, come on, I got you. And you learn from there that it's just
Yeah.
the next person next to you saying, I got this. So, when somebody on my team was struggling, my job was to take them and pull them up and say, come on, I got you. But then push them
Yeah.
to the edge and get them to do more. So, you take all those principles with you. And I took all those principles with me and implemented them into my business, and to the way I operate in life. And I think a lot of that made me really successful, because you watch how those guys win and how they have, I tell this to people all the time, special operators have plan A through Z, because a lot of times when they go in on plan A falls apart immediately. And then there's plan B, C, D, E, and F. And usually by the time they're done, they may be on J, or M, right? You just never know. So, you have to be planned for what can happen. Hey, we have the best laid plans. We're going to go do this. You and I are going to have this thing, and then something happens. The mic cuts out. The dog runs in. What
Always
happens?
happen. Yeah.
How do you respond, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's how you react to things, right? We can't always control the things that happen around us, but we can control the way we react to them and
And,
how they let them impact us.
and I talk about, it's how well prepared are you for those things, and that's one of those principles I brought home with me.
I love it. I love it. So people can learn more about you at prestigetransformational.com. That's your website. I want to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
that we mention that before we run out of time, because we're running out of time pretty quickly here. Uh, they want to check out your chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 21, which should be coming out very shortly as of this recording. Your chapter is called The Quality of Your Life and Business is Shaped by the Level of Consciousness You Bring to Your Decisions. I love the title. We got to talk about getting short. I'm kidding.
I'm
But
surprised
you
they didn't
also,
make me
you
short it.
also, you also been in another collaboration book, and what was that book?
Um,
You were in, Craig?
So it's Born to Rise. It's done by all military veterans, every one of them in there, or Born to Risk is the title of it, and they've got different volumes. I'll tell you a really interesting thing. Part of this other group I'm with, that Jose, who introduced me to Jim Britt, he invited me to this event where I wrote a chapter. There was 157 authors in this book, and we became Guinness World Record holders for the most authors in one place signing the book at the same time simultaneously. That was back in June, and I have the certificate from the Guinness people. So it's actually,
That's
this will be my third co-authored book.
fantastic. How many are there? How many were there at that signing?
142.
Wow, that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And now you have your own book coming out as well for that. That should be coming out September timeframe of 2026 for those of you who catching this on a replay later on. What is the name of your book, sir?
So that name of that book is going to be called The Power of Choice. And it really, it spins off of, the chapter I have here with Jim. But it's definitely takes a much deeper dive into the power of your choices, right? Leading through stories, talking about consciousness, talking about decisions, talking about preparedness. Some of the stories we've talked about here today, as I write each chapter, we have conversations around some of these things, and we build them in, how the military experience led to some of these things.
Nice.
I just read, up to chapter 15. I feel like it came out really well. It gives you a good insight into me as a person and a coach and a leader. A little bit about my family. It talks about that 2013 timeframe and how we overcame all that. So yeah, I think it's a great read. And I think, if anybody here who does go read it, I think you'll walk away with a sense of, wow, I can do anything I really want to do.
The Power of Choice. So we want people to look to seek that book out when it comes out. And Craig, I'll be looking for an autographed copy. To learn more, in touch with Craig, check out prestigetransformational.com. Read his chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 21. Keep your eyes open for The Power of Choice coming out in September. And also, if you want to reach out and get in touch with Craig, he said, the heck with social media, just email him directly at craig@prestigetransformational.com. Craig, this has been great conversation. It was great to get to know you. We had a couple of technical glitches throughout this show. I'm hoping that all of those they don't detract from the conversation. We had, I think you gave some great tips in here. There's a lot of gold in this conversation, so I'm sure people will enjoy it. So anything, we've got a minute left, really quick, anything that you want to throw out there for people to remember?
And number one, thank you, John. I really appreciate you bringing me on this podcast and giving me the time. You're world class. I mean, the way you set this up. I think, Pete, for me to get out there is, you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter about your past. It doesn't matter about who you are, where you came from. Your future is determined by what you want to do. The power of taking your conscious mind and taking the things you're unaware of and controlling them, you can accomplish. And, if somebody wants to work with me or just got some thoughts or you got some ideas and you need a few things, give me a call. Reach out to me at
I love it.
prestigetransformational.com or at my email. I'm happy to help people. I do a lot of speaking engagements as well, but I'm excited about just giving back to people and making people better.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you, Craig. This has been a great conversation. Folks, thanks for listening to Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. Catch the next episode and learn more from more of the great authors in this series. Thanks again. Take care.